We're going to bring on our next guest, Kristine Conway, Effective Focus, in studio. Kristine, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Kristine, give our audience a little background on you, and then I want to find out how you engage millennials and encourage innovation as just a kickoff question.
Yeah, help all of us with that one. Those of us especially have millennials at home. We need help with that one.
For millennials. Yeah, so my background is that I have worked in healthcare organizations and restaurant organizations in organization development, which is helping people become better than they are, helping them become more effective. And I've been actually coaching professionally since 2002 inside organizations. And in the last 4 years, I have opened my own door as Effective Focus. So I'm able to now help people within a variety of different industries.
Okay. Let's get into the three, and thank you for that.
Yes.
Let's get into the three ways you encourage millennials and encourage innovation.
Well, I think they're really kind of one and the same if you really look at that. So millennials and innovation, one of the things that really lead back to the leadership illusions that we believe as leaders that we have to do. We have to know all the answers.
Right.
And we've got to be the smartest ones in the room, as well as we have to be able, we feel that our advice is important. And at any time we activate any of those three illusions, we lose our millennials and we squish innovation opportunities. So having all the answers, you can actually get better answers from other people by asking questions and asking the right questions. When we tell all that we know, we prevent people from creating new things. We prevent development. And many times we do it in an opportunity to help, but when we're helping, we're actually hurting individuals. So that's one. And then advice is a big one. We all kind of like it when people ask our advice because it kind of gives us a little ego boost, that, hey, they were really wanting something from us. And be careful with giving advice, especially at a CEO level, because advice coming from a powerful position can come down as a directive.
It's delivery.
Yes, absolutely. Delivery and finding out what they're wanting to do with that advice is really important. I know that I've talked to a number of clients who are stuck on, well, my mentor told me, or my CEO told me. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great if you're 60 years old and you're a white man, but you're, my friend, a female and you're African American, so that doesn't work for you. So let's make sure that the advice is applicable, and that it's a piece of data, and it's not the whole picture.
Okay, 3.
And then when you talk about being the smartest person in the room,
that one always gets me. Always. Somebody wants to be the smartest person in the room, and they're generally not.
Absolutely. And if you are the smartest person in the room, you probably need to find a different room, because that way you're contributing better. So
exactly.
Ask more questions, tell less, and that way you actually get more information. Because being the smartest person in the room, that can be tiring. That can be tiring. It can send you home every day worn out.
I generally have found that the smartest person in the room is actually the best listener.
That is very true. That is very true. And it takes a lot of emotional intelligence to be a good listener.
Yeah, it does. A good listener is different than a sounding board. But let's move on. Unleash the power of engagement and innovation by dissolving 3 traditional leadership illusions. We got about a minute and a half, so if we run over, we'll catch it up on the other side.
Okay, fabulous. So with getting rid of those, one of the things that I work with organizations and leaders with is self-awareness, getting feedback from individuals. CEOs especially, the higher you go in the organization, the less good feedback you get, the less useful feedback you get, because people are afraid to tell you things. People aren't wanting to let you know, the emperor has no clothes on. There's a lot of hesitation with that. So seeking feedback is incredibly important to help dissolve a lot of the illusions that we create for ourselves.
But how do you get the honest feedback?
Oh, it takes a variety. Remember, a piece of data, and you want to kind of put the puzzle together. So surveys are great. There's nothing wrong with surveys. There's nothing wrong with assessments. Those are pieces of data. But actually sitting down and building trust with your people, and and not flying off the handle if you hear something that's wrong, that you feel is wrong, that you feel is, something that can help you move forward. How you react to that feedback is incredibly important, and then you'll get more feedback that way.
I agree. I agree. Let me move on. I'm not going to throw my 2 cents on this. How do you produce a culture by increased productivity and accountability?
Oh, the increasing productivity and accountability. One of the biggest places that I've been able to do that is with my Effective Focus, Effective Coach program. It's a leadership program, teaches people how to ask questions, how to engage, how to show the value in the person sitting across the table rather than showing their own value, which really leads to outstanding change with how individuals want to come to work.
Wow. Let's take a break right now. You've been listening to Kristine Conway, Effective Focus, Inc.com. New book out, or Obligated No More, A Journey to a Guilt-Free Life. We'll be right back on the other side of this break. You've been listening to CEO Money, segment brought to you by On Target Partners. Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. In studio, Kristine Conway, Effective Focus, inc.com is the website. All right, Kristine, where we left off, we were talking about emotional intelligence, principles of employees deliver their highest value. Bring that back in, and then I want to move down to a whole litany of other questions I have for you.
All right. So getting people to produce more and be more engaged in their work, it really comes down to human connection and being able to have that other person feel valued is probably the number one thing you could do as a CEO.
How do you do that?
And you got to connect with them, and you've got to be able to build trust. And
there's somebody out there going, "How do you do that?"
How do you do that? Well, first thing you do is you be consistent. If you say something and you say you're going to do it, then do it. I mean, the simple, basic things like that go a long way. Continuing to look at people in their eye. Do you know that there's only like 2% of the communication that we have is considered true communication? It's like empathetic listening. 2%.
Yeah.
And you think about all the interactions that you have with your employees on a day-to-day basis. What can you do to leverage that? Well, you can look them in the eye. You can use their name. You can remember things that they've told you. You can be in the moment. And being in the moment has a lot to do with emotional intelligence.
This is like marriage counseling.
I tell you what, it's human counseling, because being in the moment, you've got to be able to let those voices in your head subside and actually focus in on what somebody else is saying. And that takes work, and it takes the ability.
I think it takes genuine interest.
You've got to have a genuine interest. And until you're able to calm yourself down and understand what emotions are coming through and how to interpret someone else, it's a tough thing to do.
Interpreting other people, now there's an art.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and it's not so much interpreting other people, but it's interpreting what
they mean,
the meaning that you're taking from. You can be in a meeting and someone maybe, kind of scoff at you in a way, or, there's a noise made in your direction. And you can take that as, what? They just thought I said something stupid. That's how you interpret it.
Exactly, yeah.
However,
I was in a meeting yesterday and that happened.
And that exact thing happened. I heard that in the hallway just now, actually. Just joking.
Well, it wasn't me that was doing it, but I get it.
Oh, but it depends on how you interpret that. So you could either take that to heart and say, hey, they're making fun of me, or they didn't appreciate what I brought to the table, or they could have a frog in their throat, And it's up to you how you choose to do that. And how we choose to interpret that chooses how we react to that.
Right. Okay. Point well made. What do you recommend to CEOs to align strategy to achieve business results?
The first thing is figure out really what business results you're really getting. What do you really want? And, sometimes with organizations will be very vague in that.
I hate that.
I know. Be specific. But many times the reason where I hear that people are not very specific is because then it's easier to say that they made it or they didn't, right?
Yeah.
But be really clear on that, and then have a strategy around that. Get to the point where you align your actions to get to that business result. Paint that picture. You got to have a common vision. Everyone needs to see exactly what it is they're going for, and you've got to be able to communicate that. When you talk about change management, you've got to have your why. Why are we doing this? Why are those business results important? What about those business results are important? Is it going to keep food on our table? Is it going to help us change the world? What is it going to do? And then what's it going to look like? Paint me a picture so I can see that, so I can go for that. Every morning when I wake up and I rush to work, I know that's why I'm there. And then communicate that. You know, communication is something that is so important. Communicate, 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 and let it be a two-way communication based on that vision. Figure out what could absolutely stop you. Think about that before you get into it. What could get in the way? Do you have policies and procedures that are going to prevent you from achieving innovation if that's one of your goals? Is there something that could get in your way? Let's plan now and then measure. Measurement is huge. Let's measure. How do we know we're getting closer to it? It's not just the end goal. It's all those milestones going up to it. And what does that look like? Put it on paper. Make it real. And then the last thing is reinforcement. You know, in the lack of support, environment always wins. So if you don't have something supporting your changes, something that's supporting your business results, your strategy is going to be eaten by culture every day.
Break that down for me.
So in reinforcement, so let's say, for instance, you are working on a goal to increase market share. You need lots of innovation to happen with that. Well, you're telling everyone, innovate. You're sending them to classes on how to creatively think. You're doing all of this work, but your management team still continues to micromanage.
Right.
And with micromanaging, you're controlling the outcomes, and you're squashing all of the investment that you've put into this creative thinking work that you brought in.
You know, there's a whole another page of questions I've got for you, but we can't now. But I want to invite you to come back. I really enjoyed the conversation with you. I learned something, and I think even Ed learned a few things here. And
Ed learned a lot.
Oh.
yeah, I want you to come back. All right, but
thank you.
before we go, Obligated No More: A Journey to a Guilt-Free Life by Kristine Conway.
Yes.
Right, MSPCC, and it's effectivefocusinc.com. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Kristine, thanks for being a guest.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.